on the care plans. And let me pop this here link in the chat if I have it. And there's a link right there to resources for the CARE Act. Very good presentation. I would recommend looking into that link and finding more information as it applies to your jurisdiction, your agency. Very great resource, very helpful. And now we move to the annual reporting process. Workbook 1 was due yesterday, June 15th. And so I think we've got most of them in, but if something has happened and you forgot that deadline or you missed it, please get that in immediately by close of business today. And we want to remind you that the workbook number 2 is due July 15th, so approximately a month from today. In addition, there's workbook 1 due yesterday, workbook 2 due July 15th. There's also the Sage upload. You can expect to receive an email from Sage probably by the end of this week or early next week. And whatever email that you entered into book 1, that is where the email from Sage will be sent. So make sure to check your spam folder, your junk folder if you haven't received it within about a week. And just to remind you, Sage is not a workbook. It's an upload. So you will be sent an email from Sage with it, and it'll provide you instructions on how to upload into Sage. You don't need an account. You don't need to be logged on as a regular user. You just respond to the email from Sage that you get. It'll walk you through the whole process. And a final reminder, going back to book 2, it's due July 15th, and you only need to complete the yellow sections, the yellow cells in the spreadsheet, which you're going to provide a breakdown of the amounts of your funding during the reporting period. And with that, I'm going to pause and reach back to the team. Tim, Fareed, did I miss anything or any questions that popped up regarding APR?
There's no questions right now, Anthony.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Then why don't we just jump into the 2024 contracts? Doesn't it just seem like yesterday that those were new and we were just starting on them? Well, we're coming up to that expenditure deadline. It's September 25th of this year. You know, that's going to be here before you know it. And that expenditure deadline is September 25th. You can submit your final RFF all the way up to October 25th, as long as it doesn't have expenditures after September 25th. All eligible expenditures prior to the September 25th expenditure deadline, you can submit those in an RFF up until October 25th, 2026. The actual contracts themselves, the 2024 contracts, will expire on November 25th of this year. So that means we'll be transitioning into the 2025 contracts for those of you who elected to take the funding for 2025. Make sure to spend down 100% of your 2024 contracts prior to submitting an RFF for your 2025 funds. We have to make sure we get those 2024 spent down. And so once you have done that, once you've spent down the 2024 funds and you're submitting your final RFF, make sure to include a certificate of completion. And if you need help with that, just reach out to your representative. They can provide you with all the information you need. And they can also provide you with a certificate of completion if necessary. And someone can correct me if I'm wrong from the team, but I think that we still have that on our website under resources, under templates. But if not, somebody jump in and let everyone know. And we'll just go ahead and move to the next update, which is a coordinated entry resource link. Some of you are very familiar with coordinated entry. Others, it's a new process for you. So we're going to share this link in the chat for a great resource of best practices in meeting the ESG coordinated entry requirements, which are a federal requirement. And this resource that you can click on, it'll walk you through the process, and it provides a specific step-by-step process for implementing a coordinated entry program. And if you already have one, it's in place, it's looking good. There's also some great suggestions and feedback in terms of how to improve your existing system. And I'll hold right there and defer to Amanda if we had any questions on those updates at this point.
Nope, no questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Amanda. And Gio, if we go to the next slide. If you recall, I just said reach out to your ESG rep. If you have questions on any of the topics I just gave in the update. And our ESG grant representatives are Sam, Gio, and Ryan. They're a great team. They respond quickly, and they're always happy to help. So feel free to contact your rep. If you're not sure or you want it to be more of a general question, you can reach out to the ESG NOFA inbox, which is located on the link right there. You don't have to write that down. This is available on all of the recent office hours slides that are available on the YouTube website. And that is manned. We always have someone checking that Monday through Friday during normal business hours. So we will always get back to you within 48 hours at the latest. A really tough question. And next slide, please. Pause there. Oh, that link is not working, huh? All righty. I'll have to get a better one then. Let's see, brief. See if I did it wrong. You know, it works for me. Maybe I have a special computer system. But I will, during the presentation, I will upload it to the chat for you. And Amanda, you said questions?
No questions, so.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, one just popped up. As the current ESG agreement winds down, when can our subrecipients begin drawing funds for year 2? And the answer to that question is as soon as your amendment is approved and executed. And that's it, Anthony.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Appreciate that. Well, that was brief then. Let's go ahead and jump to the next slide. All right, we're here at the Spotlight series. We have a presentation today on subrecipient monitoring plan and procedures. For those of you who this may be new to you, monitoring, if you have subrecipients, monitoring, regular annual monitoring of your subrecipients is a requirement of federal ESG funds. So we want to give you a hand doing this. And today we have Amanda Mitchell, ESG specialist, and Tuesday Cool, ESG specialist, and they are going to provide a walkthrough of a high-level overview of monitoring plan and procedures for your subrecipients. Amanda and Tuesday, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Anthony. As Anthony said, welcome to our ESG Spotlight series on the subrecipient monitoring plan and procedures. We are so happy you've joined us today. Please see the link in the chat that hopefully Tuesday can put in the chat for me. And then hopefully you can follow along. It's on our website. Next slide, please, Gio. Today's agenda includes going over the roles and responsibilities of subrecipient monitoring. Then we'll go over ESG subrecipient monitoring and risk management. Next, I'll pass it off to Tuesday, who will go over the monitoring schedule and checklists. Then she'll talk through monitoring visits and desk monitoring. And finally, she'll go over monitoring letters. And lastly, we'll go through some follow-up items regarding risk management and ESG CV audits. Next slide, please. The roles and responsibilities for each organization report from the subrecipient all the way up to the top, which is HUD and HUD OIG, or the Office of Inspector General. HUD/OIG is responsible for monitoring HCD's ESG contract, while HCD is responsible for doing internal monitorings on their grantees, and those grantees are responsible for monitoring their subrecipients, if applicable. All levels can expect to be monitored at some point and to some extent, whether it's annual monitoring or mini monitoring during the contract term. Next slide, please. Why does HCD and its subrecipients need to monitor? It is required by HUD as part of the contract between HUD and HCD. It is also a requirement in the federal regulations and state guidelines. HCD must ensure that its ESG funded activities are being implemented according to all program regulations, guidelines, risk management, and grant requirements. The best way to do this is for HCD to monitor its subrecipients and for the subrecipients to monitor their sub-subrecipients' programs and activities. Monitoring should not be a one-time event. It should be an ongoing process, which allows us to assess the quality of program performance during the grant term. It also involves constant communication and evaluation, which is why HCD does many monitoring, technical assistance, and these office hours. What is the goal? To improve performance, increase capacity, remedy instances of noncompliance, fraud, waste, and abuse, and lastly, highlight grantee best practices and accomplishments. Next slide, please. The ESG program is currently updating its policies and procedures to include enterprise risk management, or ERM, which is addressing an audit finding regarding fraud, waste, and abuse. Monitoring plays an integral part in identifying and mitigating programmatic fraud, waste, and abuse. It is now a requirement for organizations to develop and implement risk management and fraud prevention policies, procedures, and resource tools to ensure deficiencies that go beyond programmatic errors can be identified and reported properly. I'll now pass it off to Tuesday to go over the monitoring schedule and checklist. Next slide, please.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Amanda. I want to remind everybody that HCD requires monitoring to be conducted at all levels. HUD, OIG will monitor the state programs, HCD will monitor our subawardees, and our subawardees are required to monitor their subawards, their sub-subawards, and all the way down to monitoring provider at the provider level. The level of monitoring isn't the same for everyone. Instead, it's based on the level of risk associated with each specific organization. Some of the things to consider are experience with an HCD program. If the subrecipient is a newer to ESG, it might have a limited familiarity with the program, and that might require a little bit closer oversight. Uh, the organizational stability is another consideration. High staff level turnover and major organizational changes can impact the ability to manage the program efficiently, and new staff may require closer guidance and monitoring. Past performance on government-funded programs is a consideration. If an organization has had compliance issues, reporting challenges, or performance problems in the past, that raises their risk level and may indicate that additional attention is helpful. And the ability to spend funds on schedule. If an organization struggles to meet expenditure milestones outlined in their standard agreement, excuse me, or if a pattern of spending has a pattern of spending slowly, increased guidance and monitoring may be necessary to help them get their spending done on time and to make sure that they're being compliant. Our goal is to apply the right level of oversight so that each subrecipient succeeds while ensuring the compliance and timely use of funds. Next slide, please. More on the monitoring schedule. It's important to establish that your monitoring schedule early and to follow those plans throughout their conclusion. Every contract must have at least one formal monitoring over the course of the contract. We want to time monitoring so it's at a useful time, not too early, not too late. The best time is when key steps are completed. So when new funding requests come in, so somebody's asking to be for billing or something like that, that's a good time to look at your monitoring and see how your provider or subawardee is doing. Those natural milestones give us more information to review at a given time. Planning and scheduling monitoring early helps remove concerns without surprise inspections and creates a clear, predictable process for everyone involved. Next slide. Your monitoring plan should include clearly outlined uh, it should clearly outline what is going to be reviewed during a desk or a site visit. It should list the specific documents, reports, and files and processes for review. And these can vary depending on the program components and activities being monitored. And the plan should reflect those differences. Using standard checklists helps keep the process consistent and thorough, making sure we cover all the required areas every time. Next. Thank you. Um, the basic flow for conducting a monitoring visit is you'll start with a notification letter, and this will formally let the subrecipient know when the monitoring will take place and what to expect. Next, you'll hold an entrance conference, and this gives your team the opportunity to introduce everyone, review the agenda, and explain what is expected during the visit. Throughout the visit, it is important to keep good notes. This gives clear documentation to help track observations and support accuracy in the follow-up letter. Monitoring should be wrapped up with an exit conference summarizing what was reviewed, sharing preliminary observation, and explaining the next steps in the process. Next slide, please. As my computer tries to reset itself, thank you. Okay, taken care of. After your monitoring, you're going to send a monitoring letter that clearly lists any concerns and findings. Reminder, a finding is when a subrecipient has violated a regulatory requirement, and a concern is when there's an issue that could turn into a finding if performance isn't addressed. Ask for the response to be asked after you've sent out your monitoring letter, ask for the response to be returned in writing and explaining how the issues will be corrected. Remember to also use audits, mini monitoring, site visits, and performance reports to track progress. Subrecipients can also request reports early to stay ahead of issues. So if you're in a situation where it's not quite APR time, but you want to see what the performance of your sub is or your provider is, you can ask for those reports to be provided to you with the information that is on hand at that time. Next slide, please. If a subrecipient isn't complying with its contract, the subrecipient may be considered in default of its own agreement with HCD. In these cases, the subrecipient should work with legal counsel before taking any enforcement action. Sanctions can range from a simple warning to suspending payments, canceling the project, or requiring partial or full repayment of funds. Again, this is a situation where the sooner we get into doing our monitoring, the sooner we can find the problems and hopefully avoid situations where we have that level of sanctions. The response should always match the severity of the issue. For example, late audits don't justify repayment, but fraudulent or intentional misuse of funds should require strong action. And whenever there's uncertainty about the appropriate level of sanctions, subrecipients should consult with HCD. We're happy to be available to answer your questions and be with you in the process. Next slide, please. Uh, Again, risk management and following up. Risk management is an integral part of all the monitoring process. Staff, including our staff and your staff, should follow organizational policies at all times. If an issue looks like suspected fraud, it's not just a program error. It must be escalated immediately through your organization's leadership, following the official risk management protocol as set in place. Thank you. Are there any questions? Nope, looks like we're good. All right, and then Amanda's going to take care of the next slide.
Thank you, Tuesday. As a follow-up to a HUD OIG audit of HCD's ESG CV funding, we wanted to remind everyone that the ESG CV grants closed on June 30th, 2024. All of the waivers that were in effect during the ESG CV grant period are no longer applicable to the ESG annual program. Also, please take note that the following activities are not allowable under the annual ESG program: holding fees, landlord incentives, and risk mitigation. Next slide, please. That concludes our presentation today on subrecipient monitoring plan and procedures. Are there any questions? And feel free to raise your hand if you want to talk, or you can put anything in the Q&A box. And if there are no questions, then I can pass it back to Anthony.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Amanda. And it looks like we're going to continue moving forward. Next slide, please. So we're wrapping up, and thank you everyone for presenting today. A lot of information. As always, please feel free to reach out to us if you have questions on today's topics and updates. In the meantime, you can always go to the ESG webpage, and we have a ton of information, templates, resources, manual trainings for you regarding ESG, and you can always reach out to the NOFA inbox. Next slide, please. And here's our little plug at the end of the day. We always like to say, if you want to join our team, help us complete our mission, please go to jobs.ca.gov and click on the HCD links for any current open positions. Next slide, please. And hey, that's it. We finished quickly today. You guys got a whole half hour. You can run out to an extra long lunch today or dive back into some really fun project that requires a lot of work and thought. Our next office is July 21st, and that'll be on Tuesday. And until then, thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you again next month. Take care.